I spent months planning my parents' anniversary then. They replaced me with Tiffany. Julia Harper, 28, devoted daughter, perfectionist, deeply emotional but often overlooked. Antagonist, Tiffany Mallory, 26, charismatic grifter who infiltrates the Harper family. Setting, Midwestern U.S. Suburban upper-middle-class family home, venues, and flashbacks to past family moments. Themes, family betrayal, emotional invisibility, redemption, boundaries, identity, and healing. My mother's garden. Julia reflects on childhood. Memories of planting roses with her mother. It sets the tone. She was always the good daughter. The anniversary idea, Julia, after years of family caretaking and emotional labor, decides to surprise her parents with a dream, 35th wedding anniversary celebration. Flashbacks reveal her being the one holding things together during crises. The planning begins. Julia begins organizing, venue hunting, vintage-themed decor, old family albums. Her brother Kyle is absent, her dad distracted, but she's used to doing everything herself. Her mom mentions a new friend, Tiffany, who's been so helpful lately. Julia brushes it off, assuming it's temporary. Tiffany arrives at Sunday dinner, gorgeous, overly warm, just trying to help. She brings her parents gifts. Julia feels the air shift. Her mother beams in a way Julia hasn't seen in years. Julia finds out Tiffany has contacted her venue on the family's behalf. Her ideas are being changed. She confronts her mom. We just want fresh energy. Tiffany's got such taste. Tiffany is now invited to every gathering. Julia's seat at the table, physically and emotionally, starts shrinking. Julia voices concern. Her mom responds, "You're being possessive." Her dad tells her to stop being jealous. The slideshow Julia made? Replaced. Menu choices? Replaced. A public invite goes out, hosted by Tiffany Mallory. Her name isn't mentioned. Julia's best friend Elise confronts her. You're not crazy. They're letting her rewrite your role. Julia cries for the first time in years. Julia shows up. People are smiling. Her parents are glowing. Tiffany is taking credit for everything. A guest says, "You must be Tiffany's assistant." Julia snaps. Julia calls out the lies in front of everyone. Tiffany stays calm. I only stepped up when someone got overwhelmed. Her parents do not defend her. Julia leaves in the middle of the event. She deletes the family group chat. Weeks pass, silence. Therapy and truths. Julia goes to therapy. We see flashbacks, childhood favoritism, emotional withholding, how she became the fixer, what they didn't see. Julia realizes her parents loved her for her usefulness. Tiffany offered novelty, ease, and flattery. Julia offered sacrifice. She was never allowed to need. Credit card charges. Her dad calls. Do you know anything about these charges? Tiffany has been using their cards for spa visits, flights, handbags. Public exposure. Tiffany is outed by a local boutique for scamming. Her social media implodes. Old victims come forward. My parents came knocking. Her mom shows up. You were right. We're so sorry. Julia doesn't invite her in, not yet. Letter from Dad. A handwritten letter arrives. Her father writes, "We made you carry our weight, then resented your strength. You didn't deserve that." Elise's wedding. Elise's wedding, her creativity flourishes. She finds purpose again, apart from family validation. A quiet coffee. Julia meets her mom at a cafe. No expectations. Just honesty. They talk, not as mother-daughter, but as two women learning each other. Rebuilding with conditions. Julia draws boundaries. You don't get all of me anymore, but you can have the parts that are respected. A family dinner, this time my way. She hosts a small dinner. No Tiffany, no glam. Just real food, stories, laughter. Julia reopens her event planning service, now called Sunflower and Slate. Her first major event? A 50th anniversary for a client. She delivers it with grace, but not obsession. In the end, they didn't replace me. They revealed how replaceable they thought I was, but I found the parts of me they never saw, and I built a life from them. Would you like this turned into full episode scripts? A YouTube narration outline? Or voiceover-ready text files? I can begin with or provide full segments next. I always thought love was loud, fireworks, movie moments, over-the-top hugs. But my parents taught me love was quiet. Quiet like warm soup when you're sick. Quiet like folding someone's laundry without being asked. Quiet like staying married for 35 years. That's why I wanted to do something big. Huge, beautiful. For once, I wanted them to feel what I had felt my whole life: safe, special, remembered. It was February when the idea hit me. I was sitting in the attic of our childhood home, sorting through old boxes while visiting my mom. My dad had gone out to run errands, and Mom had asked if I could help organize her time capsule. That's when I found it. A faded photo album from their first anniversary. 1989, my dad had hair. My mom was in a silk red dress with shoulder pads. They were dancing barefoot in the living room, holding paper plates of spaghetti. No catering. No guests, no glam. Just love. And I thought, what if I recreated that magic? But not just that night. All 35 years of it. I was going to plan the anniversary party of their dreams. Not for clout. Not for Instagram. But because they'd earned it. They'd stayed when others didn't. I went home and made a spreadsheet. That old country barn Mom used to talk about. Budget. I'd saved almost $8,000. It was everything. I had outside of rent and food, my brother. Kyle was useless when I called. Sounds cool, he said. Let me know what I can do. He never called back. I didn't expect help, though. I never had. See, I was the daughter who always did. The one who made my parents. Birthday dinners when I was 12. Who helped my dad set up his online banking. Who carried my mom to the car the night she collapsed from exhaustion and wouldn't go to the hospital. The one who showed up, and I was okay with that until I wasn't. But I didn't know that part yet. Back then, I was still excited, hopeful. I stayed up late designing the invitations. Handmade watercolor roses, a nod to Mom's garden. I even started rehearsing a surprise slideshow with old home videos, photos from their wedding, and a little voiceover clip of me saying, "You gave each other the world. Now let me give a little back to you." Cringe maybe, but honest. I was so deep in love with the idea of making them happy. I didn't notice the first crack. It was a tiny comment over dinner. Mom had just gotten back from a charity gala, glowing, cheeks pink from too much wine. She sipped her tea and said, "You know who's lovely? Tiffany, that girl from the fundraiser. She's helping out at the women's shelter." Bright girl. Real spark. I smiled and nodded, barely registering the name. Just another new face in Mom's orbit. What I didn't know then, what I couldn't have known, was that Tiffany wasn't just a name. She was a storm. And everything I'd spent months building was about to be washed away. You know that feeling when you're working on something just for love? No deadline. No applause. Just joy? That was me, every night for 3 weeks. Sitting cross-legged on the living room floor, surrounded by ribbons, glue guns, and crumpled receipts. I had become a full-time daughter/party planner. I booked the barn. Not just any barn, the barn. The one my mom used to point at when we passed it on road trips. If I ever renew my vows, she used to say, "I want it there," with fairy lights and wildflowers. So I got it. Even paid the $1,500 deposit from my savings. I found a caterer who could recreate the spaghetti from their first anniversary, and even talked the baker into replicating their original wedding cake. White velvet with raspberry, filling and buttercream roses. She'd do it for half price just because she loved love. It was all coming together like a dream. I kept a binder, labeled in gold letters, Harper 35th. Inside, seating charts, RSVP lists, vendor contacts, color palettes, cream, blush, gold, elegant, timeless. It wasn't just an event. It was memory architecture. I was building a moment they'd never forget. But you know what I didn't realize? I was doing it alone. Kyle still hadn't followed up. My dad gave me his usual "looks great, kiddo," without asking a single question. And Mom? Mom had started getting a little distracted. At first, I didn't think much of it. Like when I showed her the floral samples I picked out, and she just nodded absently, scrolling on her phone, or when I tried to play one of their old wedding songs. "The way you look tonight?" To see if she'd want it for the dance. She said, "Oh, sweetie, can we do this later? Tiffany's coming over for tea." There it was again. Tiffany. At first, the name was like background noise. Something you heard but didn't register. But slowly it got louder. Tiffany said this.
Tiffany suggested that. Tiffany knows someone who could help with music. Tiffany thinks blush is a bit dated. I'd never even met her. And already she had opinions? Still, I kept smiling. Because that's what I did. I swallowed discomfort like it was warm soup. Quietly, politely, and with no one noticing. It wasn't until a week later that I finally met her. It was supposed to be a private planning lunch, me and Mom, but when I walked into the restaurant, there she was, already sitting at our table. Tiffany Mallory, gorgeous, glossy, blonde waves, a pearl clip in her hair. That kind of woman who makes you feel underdressed even when you know you look good. She stood up like we were long-lost friends. "Oh my gosh, Julia, I've heard so much about you. Your mom says you're a creative genius." I smiled, but inside, I felt cold. Because somehow, she was already claiming space at my table. Mom laughed as Tiffany ordered us all sparkling water. "She's been so helpful." I told her about the anniversary and she just jumped in. "Jumped in?" I blinked. "Jumped into what?" Tiffany grinned. "Oh, nothing big. Just helping brainstorm a few things. I have so many connections with local vendors. You know, just a fresh perspective." Fresh perspective? I'd spent months building a blueprint of my parents' love story, and now some stranger with cheekbones and charm wanted to offer fresh perspective? Still, I said nothing, because if I said anything, I'd look possessive, controlling, dramatic, and that was the start, the beginning of the end. Because from that day forward, Tiffany wasn't just a guest at the party. She started becoming the host. Absolutely. At first, it was little things. Small comments, gentle corrections, things so subtle you'd feel silly for noticing. But I noticed, after that lunch with Tiffany, things started shifting. Not all at once, but like a dimmer switch being slowly turned down. Except I was the one fading out. The week after, I got a call from the florist I'd hired. "Hey Julia, just wanted to confirm the change in color scheme. Tiffany mentioned your family decided to go with navy and silver instead of blush and cream." I froze. What? I hadn't approved any changes. I hadn't even discussed navy and silver. I hung up and called my mom. She sounded chipper. "Oh yeah, isn't that a fun update? Tiffany said the barn would pop more with navy. It's more modern, you know." I bit my tongue so hard I tasted blood. Modern? This wasn't some Pinterest wedding. This was their story. Their history. Their first dance in bare feet. Their anniversary spaghetti. Their faded love letters I had planned to read out loud between speeches. Navy and silver? That wasn't our family. But when I tried to say something, Mom laughed. "Sweetie, don't be so rigid. Tiffany's just helping make it shine. It's still your event." My event? I felt like a stranger peeking through the window of something I built with my own hands. Still, I let it go.
I thought maybe it didn't matter. Maybe they'd come around. Maybe once the event was over, they'd remember who made it happen. But then came the emails. Vendors started calling Tiffany instead of me. A week later, Tiffany emailed the caterer with an updated menu that removed the spaghetti, the signature dish I'd begged to include. Instead, she added some kind of upscale tapas and truffle risotto nonsense. I called Mom again. "Sweetheart," she sighed, "Tiffany just has better taste. She's got an eye for detail." No. I had an eye for them. For what mattered. For what was real. She barely knew them. She didn't know my dad hated mushrooms, or that Mom couldn't digest anything with dairy. But suddenly, Tiffany's eye for detail trumped my years of knowing their quirks, preferences, and stories. I started spiraling. Every meeting became a surprise ambush. I'd show up to talk about invitations, and Tiffany would already have redesigned them. I'd mention lighting ideas, and Tiffany would say, "Oh, we already booked a string quartet with uplights. It's handled." Suddenly it was always we. We thought this might be more tasteful. We agreed the playlist needed a little sparkle. We moved the slideshow to a smaller section. And worst of all, my mom never corrected her. She let her talk like she was family, like she had earned the right to narrate our memories. I sat in one of those planning meetings, quiet, simmering, and watched. Tiffany flipped through my binder, like she'd written it herself. I finally asked, trying to sound calm, "Tiffany, why are you doing all this?" She blinked, then smiled, as if I'd just asked something adorable. "Oh, Julia, I just love your parents. They've been so kind to me. And honestly, you seemed so overwhelmed. I just wanted to take a little off your plate." Overwhelmed? I'd been obsessed, sure, committed, passionate, but not overwhelmed. That word, it wasn't just wrong. It was strategic. It made me sound unstable, fragile, like I couldn't handle something I'd been carrying alone for months. And my mom? She just nodded like it was true. That night, I sat in my car outside their house for 23 minutes. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just stared at the porch light. The same porch light I used to race toward as a little girl. When I came home late from school plays, the same porch light I thought of every time life got hard. It used to mean safety, warmth, welcome. Now it just looked foreign, like someone else lived inside. Someone named Tiffany. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I wasn't part of my own family's story anymore. I wasn't the daughter who did everything. I was the placeholder, until something shinier came along.